Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for popping by here. And yes, we are back today for the third installment of the Releasing Fear mini-series. So with this series, we're talking about kind of what fear is, what it does to us, how to let it go, and really so we can just enjoy our lives better. And so I have a few points that came up to share with you today. And the first one is a little analogy, and it was so interesting. I saw this little fly, and when I see a little bug, a little critter that's inside, I want to set it free. And gone are the days of just smushing it. I just can't do that anymore. But it's all, no judgment either way. Whatever you do, it's all good. But I go to get this little fly, but I realize it's not flying. It's like one of its wings is stuck. It has both wings, but one of them is like stuck for some reason. And so I put out my finger and the little fly walks on my finger. I'm like, okay, I walk and I go and I put it outside. But I'm sitting there looking at the fly and I think, I hope you're gonna be all right there, little one, because are you even gonna be able to, how far are you gonna be able to move? Where's your food source? You know, but of course I trust in the process of nature and all that. So I just let it be. And what was the reason though why I bring it up is because this is actually the second time this exact same thing has happened in the last month. So it happened about a month ago, it happened about a week ago, and I'm like, what is going on here? And it made me sad inside to think of that fly. It seemed helpless, even though it had both wings, one of them was stuck, so it couldn't fly. It couldn't reach its full potential. And I realized this is such a great analogy for fear, is that when we're living in fear, we're like a fly that has both wings, but one of them is stuck. So we're not free. We're stuck on the ground. We're vulnerable to all sorts of things. And we're just not operating as our true self. And so I felt like sharing this with you because it assisted me, and it also, I feel, is why once we reach this level of where we're letting go of fear and how good it feels and how amazing we feel so much compassion for anyone who is working through that. And so the little fly was just a reminder that we have all the gear, we have the wings. We just need to unstick them so we can be free, so we can be ourselves, we can fly around and have a good time. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about was, again, what for? Like, why am I going on about fear, about releasing fear, when I have mentioned many times that fear is not a bad thing. It's a really good thing because it shows us what we're ready to let go of. It shows us maybe what's inside of us that we didn't know we had to let go. And I came up with this analogy. It's called PISS. P-I-S-S. P-I-S-S. PISS. And fear is like piss. It feels so good to let it go. And if you hold on to it, and if you don't let it go, some not so good feelings are gonna start to happen. So what does this acronym mean? PIS. So P stands for prison. So as I talked about, fear is kind of like this prison where we often don't do things we want to do. We maybe don't talk to people we want to talk to. We don't express ourselves when we want to express ourselves because we're fearful. And that fear is so many things. You know, it could be fear of judgment, or fear of not being approved, or you know, anxiety, depression, you know, anger at something. There's so many different emotions that are under that fear umbrella. And in this fearful prison, it's awful. But the way I think of it, to put a more positive spin on it, is that think of it like it's like a game, and you know, kind of like Houdini puts himself in a contraption and has to escape. It's like we as a spirit, as a soul, we come to this earth and we get inside all these patterns and all this programming, and then we're like, okay, go. And then we unlock them one by one, and then we're free. So, and then as we unlock this prison and we become more free and more free and more free, like the feeling of letting go of fear is just amazing. So I can see why I chose this. Now, it's taken a while. Of course, I went through a long time where I was resentful, like, why did I come here and get programmed and all this stuff? But now I've come to a place of gratitude where I can truly say I love Earth, I love being a human, I love this experience, I love life, which was very different from where I was. And there's a really great quote in A Course in Miracles from Yeshua. Well, Yeshua, that's all from Yeshua, the entire Course in Miracles. And it says, and this is not word for word, this is just what I remember, says, once a prisoner who's been in prison their entire life, when that prisoner is freed, they don't jump for joy. And then it went on to talk about something about they crawl in the dust or something, and so that really reminds me of this journey. Like when we awaken, we don't jump for joy at our freedom. We're just like, what? You know, and then we're crawling around in the dust, letting all these things dissipate and go, and then we can. So what that quote to me is saying that give it some time, because you will reach a time where you can look back and laugh at the fact that you fell for the illusions. And that's also another quote in the Course in Miracles. And I remember when I read that quote for the first time, I was like, yeah, right, like these illusions are horrible. And it says, like, you know, the first entire part of my life was all so messed up and all this, but now I can literally look at an illusion and laugh. You know, look at, you know, something that someone tries to be so fearful, and just look at it and see right through it and just laugh at it. And so that's what I really desire for you, to get to that point where you're not like reactive and you're not triggered. You can see things for what they are, and you listen to your own internal guidance. So, you know, whether it resonates, whether it's true for you or not, and to eventually, and of course, be able to listen to your higher self and guides. But yeah, so it's all these things are getting ourselves out of this prison. So what does the I in PIS stand for? It stands for insecure, because when we're in fear, we're insecure. We're always scared, and we're kind of, looking around. We don't know what is fear? A fear of betrayal. So we're constantly worried who's going to betray us. And because when someone is fearful, that actually programs the brain to like look for potential dangers or potential fearful things. It's amazing, like when you program the brain for gratitude and all of a sudden you notice all the things you're grateful for. It's very different. So there's insecurity, but it's also insanity, because fear is an illusion. It's not even real. It's all just created in the mind. And so it's insanity. And it's also insanity because when we live in fear, or at least when I lived in fear, I was constantly manifesting fearful outcomes, fearful people, fearful situations. Even fearful. So when we're in fear, we attract things at that vibration. So physical and non-physical things. So it's a very, dark place to be. But like I've mentioned before, fear is nothing, darkness is nothing. Darkness is just the absence of light. But now we look at the positive side and we realize that if we didn't have the darkness, we would never be able to see our light. So we realize that we need the darkness, especially I feel on this earth plane, in this density, to be able to find our light, to find the truth of who we are. And it's interesting because for me, when I think of my awakening, it was literally in the darkest point of my life where I found my light. So it's this interesting thing, and also the freedom that comes when you release this. You realize so many things, and then you realize security comes from within. It has nothing to do with what's going on outside. And so what is the first S in the piss? And that is sick. So we also know that fear makes us sick, internally sick. That's not only like sicknesses, but ailments, literally any body issue, inside or outside. Because if you hurt yourself or something, that's also was caused by fear, likely. Sometimes we set up things in our pre-birth plan and stuff, so there is some room there, but the majority of things we experience in the body are due to fear. And the body is actually trying to help us, is trying to let us know, hey, look at this, stop thinking this way, because this thing is happening or that thing is happening. A classic example is eyesight. And when one is fearful of the future, the eyesight becomes blurry. And if they see enough things they don't like, eyesight becomes blurry. And this is one of the things that I'm working on healing, and I'm going to be very excited to share more about that. But I have a whole host of my own body issues, because these fears, they manifest in the body. And so this is another reason why it's so liberating to let go of fear, because then our body over time comes back to perfect health. Of course, it's going to take some time for the physical to catch up with the energetical. But as I've mentioned before, miracles do happen, and it depends on the person and their journey and what they can most get out of an experience is what your higher self and will choose for you. Of course, you can make your choice. You say, I want to be healed immediately. But also say, I want to be healed immediately, but I am open to whatever is of most benefit for myself, because I will tell you one thing I've learned in my life is everything in life is for our benefit, and it's all working in for our most benefit. And if it's meant for us to be healed in a certain way, it will happen, just maybe not in the timing that maybe our ego self uh, or our separate self desires. But that's cool. Sometimes we don't realize all the goodness we could get out of a situation when we really experience the whole thing. And then the last S in piss is stupid. And and this one is, it's not meant to be a judgment, it's just meant to be funny. But as we talked about in the last video, when we're in fear, we're not thinking properly. There's not much blood going to the brain. Of course, what I want to share with you and suggest to you is learn to feel first, feel, live from the heart. But if you're like me, you're a lot in your head and you're thinking and all this stuff. So what happens is that when we're in fear, not as much blood is going to the brain, so the brain is not operating at its full potential. So we're literally dumbing ourselves down. So piss, prison, insane and insecure, sick and stupid. So this is why it feels so good to let go of piss, of fear. And one little funny thing I was thinking of right before I came on here was we add another S at the end, so it's piss. And that last S is for story. And we just remind ourselves, literally every fearful thought is just a story. It's not reality. Goes back to the thing about the illusions. Every fearful thought is just a story we're creating. The truth is all light. It's all love, but we put on these different stories. And of course, we're influenced by a lot of other things and programs and people and society and all these things, but we don't blame them, because it's our responsibility of what we think. What they're doing by doing this is actually assisting us to see where these stories are in us, or if we're creating these stories. So it's actually, you can look at all these things as beneficial, as positive. But also, the reason I bring that up is just, again, to let us know and to reinforce the fact that when we let go of fear, we can actually reach our full potential. So that, we can think of P as potential too. So because when we're in the prison, we don't have much potential. But when we're free, when we can fly like the fly with two wings that are operating perfectly, we can be our true self. We can reach our full potential. And my next point I wanted to talk about was this vision I received from my higher self that really helped me. And what this was, and you can see the image, I have it on my website or on my Instagram under visions on the website. And so how my higher self views humans is just like an orb of light. Every single one is equal. They're all the same. We're all, even though of course each light is a distinct aspect of source, but just to kind of but each one has the same value. This is the main thing. Because what we often do is we give our power away to other people who we maybe think have more value. But that's impossible, because the truth of the reality is every single human is equal. We all have equal value. And we're all infinitely valuable. And remember that. You are infinitely valuable. And everyone is infinitely valuable. It doesn't matter what character they're playing, what human avatar they have going on. Like one for me, which was really difficult to deal with, was I had this thing about appearances. And so I would, if I judge someone as being prettier than me, I would give her more value than me, so more power. And if I saw a guy that I thought was so handsome, I would give him more power as well. So, but that's not true. Everyone is equally valuable. It doesn't matter what human avatar you're wearing. It's just that comes from the parents that you chose mainly, and it does, I feel, have something to do with your DNA. But the reason we're different is so that we can learn to see past these differences, to see all of ourselves as equal, and ultimately as one, as one being. As like when I think of the earth, I think of it's like a human, and each cell is a human being on earth. So of course you want the best for every single cell, for the being of earth to be working properly. Because even if a single cell is out of whack, the whole system isn't working as well. So you really want the best for every single one. But back to this analogy. So my higher self showed me that every human is equally valuable, equal-sized sphere of light. and this light, of course, unconditional love, this is our essence. But when we judge someone else in any way, we are making them more powerful than us. We are giving power. And what is judgment? It's actually fear. Because when you judge someone as being better than you or more pretty than you, what does that actually mean? Is you fear that you're not good enough. So it's like everything can be flipped back to you. So every single judgment is really something that you're working on, or that I'm working on. So when we start to peel these back and we realize that we're all equal, and that everyone is source, that everyone's higher self loves us unconditionally and approves of us, we realize that there's really no point to judgment. Judgment is almost, you realize it's almost just this kind of like excuse to attack someone, whether that's in your mind or through words or through actions. And so that in that, you take your power back. And you realize, here's the kicker, you realize that you had all the power all along. In your reality, you had all the power all along. And of course, in someone else's reality, they have all the power all along. But we're focused on you right now. So in your reality, you have all the power. So as soon as you stop giving power away, wow. When I made this realization, I could see all these things in my outer reality change for the better, for more of my liking. And it was really a way that I could witness by experience something that I did inside had a profound effect on what was going on in my outside world. That's not saying that I think I'm so powerful, I'm going to tell people what to do. No. What's that saying is that now I don't judge anyone. Now I see everyone as equal. I see everyone as love. And if their ego self or separate self wants to act out or do something, I don't focus on that. I focus on the truth of who they are, that essence, that beautiful essence inside. And I remember that the ego self or the separate self is just the character they're playing in this play that we call Earth. All the world's a stage, the men and women merely players, as Shakespeare eloquently said. So to summarize this little adventure we've gone on together into releasing fear, I hope I provided some insights and some laughs and some tools that you can use in your daily life to make life better for you. Because the truth is this: every human being exists to make your life better. So let that sink in. Every single human being on this planet exists to make your life better. How so? Well, say it's an uncomfortable or a not so nice experience. That's showing us something within us. It's showing something maybe we need to let go of. It's showing maybe a judgment it's time to release. It's showing maybe some resistance. And then on the other side, we have a really positive experience. It's adding more joy to our life. And we literally attract every single human with our vibration. So they have to be a vibrational match to us for us to have our paths cross, so to speak, in the reality. So you can really see that every human does exist to make your life better. Wow. And so this is, for me, a truth, and I can see it in the reality. I can feel it, and it's really assisted me. And so, of course, I want to share this with you. And we can also think that of every animal, plant, mineral, water, non-physical beings. They all exist to make your life better. Whatever vibration you're at, you will attract that to either learn something, which basically means unlearn something so you can become more of your true self, or just frankly to give you joy, to make you feel happy, to make you have a good time, to delight you. So yeah, and then when we zoom out to this higher perspective, we realize we are spirit, we are soul, we are eternal beings. This is just one incarnation of like infinite, basically. And if you think a life on Earth is long, well, life on other planets is way longer. Like an Earth life is like nothing. So we're an eternal being. We're here for an experience. And really, when we think of our spirit self and our soul self, we cannot be hurt. We cannot be devalued. We cannot be threatened. And when we hear of a horrible thing, a horrible act done out of fear happening to someone else, it's not to blame fear, it's not to blame the person, because everything is happening for us. So if something happened to someone, they had to have agreed to that on some level. Like maybe someone passed away, but then they were going to incarnate into a life that was going to be like even more perfect, and it was going to help millions of people. And so we can't see this bigger picture. So we often react and get all this like this, but really these things, it can be that, it can be for more humans to go into their heart and feel love and compassion for people who are going through a tough time. And there's just so many reasons why these things that we deem to be horrible happen for our benefit. So when I mentioned that in the last video, it wasn't that I'm saying, you know, that to judge that and all this. I'm saying that when we zoom out from this higher perspective, we realize that everything we are creating it. And you know, some people pass away in different ways so that they can help others to not go through that, or even they pass away so that they can help their physical ones from the spiritual realm. And there's so many different things like that. So I want to bring it back to this really potent message that I received. I haven't posted this channeling yet, but channeling from a Pleiadian Collective. And what they let me know is, by default, you are always safe. I am always safe. By default, we are always safe. That is our default. We are safe. We are loved. We are approved of. But what they said is, only if we choose to believe we are unsafe is when we'll manifest an experience to make us feel unsafe. So when we come back to our true self, when we are like the fly with wings that can fly, we can reach our potential. We are our true self. As our true self, our default is love. Love is inherent. Fear is taught. We can unlearn that. Love is inherent. Safety is inherent. Abundance is inherent. Peace is inherent. Harmony is inherent. And you can see that this whole fear charade, it takes so much energy and it's so much work just even to keep it up. So when we let it go, when we let go of the piss, we can relax, we can enjoy, and we can have a good time together in harmony with each other, with the animals, with all of creation. And with that, I will let you go. I wish you a beautiful day, sending much love, joy, and harmony on your journey. And as always, thanks so much for watching. And I appreciate you, and I believe in you. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.